The first thing I can remember, essentially, I must have been 2 years old because that's when my mother died, and my grandmother, who was taking care of me, came to the house to take care of me. I remember her carrying me around, and all I remember is that my mother was in that bedroom, the bedroom to the left. I was in the bedroom to the right. And I never went into that bedroom. I don't remember what my mother looks like, because I never saw her that I can remember. And my grandmother took care of me until I was 7 years old, and she died. And then the responsibility was taken on by a stepsister, Dora, who came up from New York to live with us. And we did not get along. Matter of fact, I threw a knife at her, and my brother, who was 10 years older, whacked me good. I must have been about 7 or 8 years old at the time. And the event at 7 years old was interesting. I was going to Hebrew school. And there's some public relations event. They put me up to be the cantor of a Friday night service in the big shul my father belonged to. And I'm up there as a 7-year-old doing the whole service. And there was a public relations event from the Hebrew school to show how well they were teaching kids. And evidently, I did well. And what I say is because of that event, my father was so proud that I got away with murder all the rest of my life and his life. He never laid a hand on me, but I brought him so much pride. My picture with a cantor's hat and a tallis was in the Portland Press Herald. I was in the 3rd grade, and the kids all wanted to know what I was doing in the paper. And they couldn't understand the cantor in a synagogue and what I did. But that was a big event. And then I started singing. I had a voice soprano, excellent voice soprano voice. I started singing in the synagogue's choir, and I used to do the solos because I had evidently a very appealing voice soprano voice. My father used to come home from the synagogue, and he would say, "Mit geweint," which means they cried, the women upstairs, whenever I sang. But that's true. And I went from that, I went to singing popular songs in the Jewish Community Center, at events at the center, and very gradually I started appearing in front of groups. For $10 or something like that, I would sing pop songs, until the Boston Shoe Company signed me up for their Saturday morning radio show on the station WCSH. She's still there in Portland, Maine. And I sang a couple of songs during a half-hour show. They had other things on it. And gradually I developed a reputation as a boy singer, and I started, making, like, my fee became $25 a night, which in those days, in 1932, 33, was a lot of money, not just for a kid, but for anybody. And I did pretty well. And I remember Old Orchard Beach was the big event in my life, most of my growing life. It was a beach 17 miles south of Portland, where I lived. And it had a very large Jewish community, made up in good part by Jewish people from Montreal, Canada, who used to come down. And this Old Orchard Beach played a bigger role in my life later, but this is, I know the exact date and time, at 3:30 on June 16, 1936. I was 16 years old and was hired for $25 to sing before the Delta Kappa Sorority Convention at the hotel at Old Orchard Beach. And I remember the song was September in the Rain, and Sid Lerman, my piano player, was accompanying me. And I got through one chorus and started to open my mouth for the second chorus, and nothing came out. I looked at Sid, he looked at me, I shrugged, and my career was over. My voice changed right at that moment, and no more singing. That was it. But then, Old Orchard Beach started to play a role in my life. I went away to the University of Missouri to go to the School of Journalism. And when I came back, I was lucky enough to get a job running a grocery store at Old Orchard Beach, because I was hanging around there the summers before for nothing. Here I was getting paid. Essentially, my pay was $10 a week and everything I could steal. Essentially, that's what it was. But I was at Old Orchard Beach. Oh, it was great. And running a store, and I had a couple of helpers. One of them was a roommate of mine from New York, who was a roommate at the university. He came up to work with me for peanuts and what he could eat. You know, he didn't care. He just wanted to be at Old Orchard Beach with me. And the Jewish ladies loved us. We were called the College Boys. And, you know, we had the Benny Goodman on the radio all the time, and we knew how to deal with these ladies. Oh, Mrs. Cohen, you look so great in that bathing suit. You know, and they loved us. As a matter of fact, there was a chain store competitor, Weiner's was a Jewish chain store. And the first year that I was there, we drove them out of business in mid-August. They had to leave because everybody was coming to the College Boys. And the interesting part of this, I had a little kid named Johnny who lived in Biddeford, which was right next to Old Orchard Beach. You could take a streetcar from Biddeford into Old Orchard Beach. Johnny started hanging around the store. Like I say, he was 10 or 11 years old. Cute kid, smart as a whip. And he would help us in the store, wait on customers. He would come in early on the train, come to our room and get the key out of our pocket from both of us sleeping. And he would open the store at 8 o'clock in the morning with the early women banging on the door to get breakfast things for their husbands. And he would take care of that and get the broom and sweep the sidewalk. He was remarkable. And smart as a whip. I remember one incident. We had a very special a specialty in the grocery store. It was Florida oranges, California, I forget which, but there were small oranges, and the boss used to bring them out in a crate. And we would just open the crate and leave them on the floor. And we had a special 2 dozen for a quarter. So that was our big special, and we used to push it on every customer. So I'm busy one day, I walk by Johnny, he's got this biggest grocery bag we got. Then I hear the woman say, give me 2 dozen. And Johnny is putting 2 dozen little oranges in his huge bag. I said, Johnny, what the hell are you using that big bag for? He said, shut up. and I walked away, and then I heard him say to the lady, Mrs. Goldberg, there's plenty of room in this bag for 2 more dozen. And she thought it was so cute, 2 dozen. That was my Johnny. Okay. It was an event that I remember. One day, Johnny came into my room. We were both sleeping, reached in my pants. He couldn't find the key. He reached in the, I forget his name, my roommate who worked in the store. In his pants, he couldn't find the key. He wakes me up, hey Dave, I can't find the key, where is it? I says, I closed up last night, what happened? Oh boy. Well, our nightlife began after 9 o'clock, and it really didn't begin till midnight because our gang were the working people, waitresses and bellhops and whatnot. And you know, that was the late hour. So I used to go and to do the rounds, and I said, oh my God, what happened? Where is that key? Well, we have to go look for it. We wake up my buddy, and the 3 of us go across the street and get bikes. And we split up the hotels. You take the Empire, you take this one. We ride by the store, and there the women are already knocking on the door and hollering, and they turn around and they look at the 3 of us riding bicycles. Hey, what are you doing? my husband needs Lux cream cheese and Lux, you know. Anyhow, the key was found on the floor of the bar at the Lafayette Hotel. That's exactly where I lost it. Well, the interesting thing about that story is there is a Jewish holiday called Tisha B'Av, which is, it's one of those bad holidays or something terrible happened to the Jewish people. And you're not supposed to eat meat. You're supposed to eat cheese, blintzes, and stuff like that. Well, we did not have a refrigerated case in the store. And the boss had to bring out a lot of cream cheese, farmer's cheese, and what he would do is stack it in the middle of the floor and pack ice all around it the day before. So it would be in the store all night under ice. Well, unfortunately, this happened to be Tisha B'Av, and the longer we stayed away, the more worried I got about the cheese and the ice melting. Anyhow, when we got in there, the cheese was okay. The boss comes in like he did every afternoon, bringing supplies and taking money. He was a wonderful man, Mr. Chute. And he's standing there in the store, and he's hearing this story about the 3 of us riding around on bicycles. Well, so he says to me, Dave, what's getroffen? What happened? You know. So I told him the whole story. He says, "Is the cheese all right?" I said, "Yeah." He laughed it off. What a funny story. I can imagine those ladies watching you ride by on a bicycle. Anyhow, that's that kind of story. But Old Orchard Beach was, continued to be, even when the war came along, and I started working at the shipyard. And that's a long story, but the essential part of that was I got a job at the shipyard being in a shack on board the ship where they kept all the plans. And I was the guy, the lead ship fitters used to come in all night and ask for a plan, a 62 plan, 70, and it was up to me. And consequently, I was in the shack all night with the foreman, Mr. Petsy, who was a former ship fitter in Bath Iron Works. And anybody with any experience was needed desperately, because this is a brand new South Portland shipyard, and we were building Liberty ships for the war. So being with him all night, we fell in love with each other. We just hit it off. And he gave me a raise immediately. But then he says, "Hey, Dave," he says, "I can't get you any more money in your job." He says, "You're a smart Jewish boy. Why don't you take these plans home and study them? And when you get to know them, I'll give you a gang of 9 men, and you can become a gang leader. Then I can get you some money," which is what happened. And I got a couple of my buddies who didn't like what they were doing and put them in my gang. And we got another guy, and the 4 of us rented a cottage at Old Orchard Beach, $50 a week, a month a piece. No, $50 for the season. $200 all told for the season. And we happened to be right across the street from the liquor store, which was right next to my old grocery store. And we had, that was the last summer before everybody went into the service. And we had a ball. That summer was just never forgettable, memorable.
42?
In the summer of 42.